Hello and welcome to Between the 20s. How was your morning? Did your alarm go off too early? Well, that's not the only thing that happened way too early today, because we are talking 2020 fantasy football very begrudgingly on my behalf. I don't know whose idea this was, because it's way too early.
Hours and we're the experts, man. You're the analyst.
So
Stop hating.
now here we are. Despite all the things that could change in the offseason, including one of the most famous players in NFL history picking a new destination, potentially.
He's like 45 years old.
And not
How
on
much of
any
a
of these
fantasy
lists.
He's on my list.
Yeah,
We're somewhat
that's why you're
for
the
some reason
analyst.
discussing this. So, with that, we're going to go position by position and discuss some of the more intriguing players in the top 15s of our list.
Just top 10, top 10,
Top 10. All right, top 10.
Top 10.
Well, we made lists of top 15 and from there made a top 10 consensus list, which you will have access to on our YouTube channel, of course. But let's get it started. First, quarterback position, we have Patrick Mahomes at number 1, actually. The consensus... Not that consensus.
Not the
Number one
consensus.
at all. Consensus between Bryce and myself. Amir picked reigning MVP Lamar Jackson
Yes.
at number 1.
2 MVPs in these top 2.
What was your logic
Super
behind
Bowl
that? How'd that
MVP.
go?
I just think Lamar Jackson has a higher floor. He rushes more, as we saw. Lamar Jackson's best season, which was this past year, was better than Mahomes' best season 2 years ago. So, just
No rebuttal from you?
I like the upside. I like the floor.
I still have him in my top 3. I have him at 3.
I'm at 2.
I have him at 3. I have him behind Mahomes and Watson. I just think that Mahomes and Watson have more dynamic players that can get the ball from them, that can make them do more things. Mahomes has Tyreek Hill. Watson has DeAndre Hopkins. And talking about Lamar Jackson, he's got Hollywood Brown. I'm going to take
Mark
that
Andrews
too.
is good.
And
Yeah.
he's fine. Travis Kelce. I also don't think Lamar's going to repeat like this again. He'll be fine. He'll be good. It's not going to be like
You have
this
him more
again.
than good. You have him in elite.
He's top 3, sure,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be this again. But I have him at 3.
I'm taking intro to finance this quarter, actually. And we talk a lot about the return that you're getting for the risk that you're taking on. And I just think in this instance, you're taking on way too much risk with Lamar Jackson. I think he's a big injury threat.
Except who got hurt last season?
Well, Patrick Mahomes was
Yeah.
hurt with a
But
knee
look at the way they
injury,
both
a kind of
play.
freak knee injury when he was trying to run for the end zone.
He was hurt before that, though.
You know, but it was still.
He
Which one won the
exacerbated
Super Bowl?
injury.
Also, good question. Good point.
Are we talking about who we were picking to win the Super Bowl next year? We're talking about fantasy
He's talking about
football.
better quarterbacks. Which one's a better quarterback?
No,
Does
we're talking
anybody
about
know if
fantasy quarterback.
Anybody know if he's
James Winston's on this list. He should be in nobody's top 10 for best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Anybody know if he's reporting to OTAs or how his offseason's going? Oh no, that's right. It's February. It's 4 days after the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot about that. For a
It's
second.
called way too early for a reason, my guy.
Anyway, we have Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson. They were pretty much all in our top 3, order varying very slightly. Then it gets a little bit more interesting here. At number 4, we have Russell Wilson overall. I was the only one not to have him at 4, I believe. Yeah, I put Dak Prescott in there because he was actually a higher fantasy scorer as of last season. I know these boys were touting Russell Wilson for MVP. Sorry about that. But I felt that Prescott was a higher fantasy scorer, so I put him in front of him.
I mean, he was. Russell Wilson does have a little more boom-bust potential with those 50-point games that he can put up. That's huge. Plus, if you're looking at the Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott wasn't fully back really until week 3 because he missed OTAs, so that inflated Prescott a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
Also, Mike's going to hate on this because we're talking about future here, but the offseason is coming up, and Amari Cooper is an unrestricted free agent. If he does come back, Cooper does, Prescott might move up these rankings a little bit more.
Dak Prescott, 3rd best quarterback in terms of fantasy points last year.
I think the thing with the Cowboys is they tried to put the ball in Dak's hands. They tried to have him win the games, and it didn't work.
It's
They went
Dak's not
8-8.
even signed for next year.
He'll take the franchise
He'll
tag.
get tagged. It's a foregone conclusion that Dak Prescott's coming back.
He's going to take the franchise
He's not.
tag. But no matter what, the Cowboys thought that they should put it in his hands. They were wrong. They went 8-8. They missed the playoffs. They lost to the Eagles in that big game.
Oh, that's their
That's
fault. Their
weird.
defense is very injured.
They have the
Their
best
offense is pretty
linebacking
good.
core in football.
They
I
should.
know, but
They
Leighton
should have
Vander
been
Esch
in the
was out
playoff.
for a lot of games.
And
You
so I
had-
think they're going to go back to giving Ezekiel Elliott the ball. He's going to be back in that top 5 for the running backs, and I think Dak's going to jump down to the 2nd tier.
All right, Amir has
Quarterbacks.
moving down to the 2nd tier. And then we have the oldies but goodies kind of sneaking in here. Matt Ryan Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees all made the top. What is Drew Brees here is in the 11th spot.
He was at the 11th spot. Yeah.
They all are on the list, but to varying degrees of success.
Yeah, the thing about Drew Brees is the reason he's outside of our top 10, even though he had a great year last year, was just because he's getting old. He had a rough end to the season. He struggled down the stretch, and then he didn't play too well in that playoff game against Minnesota wild card weekend. So I think he's going to be good. He's going to be solid, but he doesn't give you any rushing, and so he's a pocket passer, and that's actually kind of dying at this point in the NFL. So I like some of these other guys that we talked about. I said, like Mike said, I got Matt Ryan at 5. Or I have him at 6, excuse me. I just think Matt Ryan is better. It's just he had a great season last year. Probably they'll bring back Austin Hooper. He still got Julio Jones, and Calvin Ridley is just going to get better. So,
And we have Bryce very high on Brees, higher than us.
Well, very high is relative. I have him at 8. These guys have him outside the top 10, 11 and 12 respectively, or 11 and 12 respectively. I just think Drew Brees is not the player he once was. Of course he's not. He's over 40 now, or will be 40 now.
Yep.
As long as he's playing in a dome for 8 games, actually more because they play in Atlanta once, guaranteed. So it's a minimum 9 games of playing in a dome. And as long as he's Michael Thomas catching the ball from him, Michael Thomas set a record this year for receptions.
Yep.
And is in the
Drew
top
Brees
5.
was still what, like a top 15 quarterback?
Drew
Sure.
Brees, he was top 10, I think, last year.
He's in there. No? Go and find him. Well, let's also remember Drew Brees missed 5 weeks.
That's
true.
why.
Drew Brees missed 5 weeks with
That's
Teddy
why.
Bridgewater.
24th best quarterback.
That's 24 in
I mean, that's 'cause
11
he missed,
games?
He missed, yeah. He only played
Points
10
per game, he's right around, let's say, Russell Wilson.
Mike's doing the
yeah,
math.
right around Russell Wilson. That would
Yeah,
be 6.
That's
that
pretty
that
good.
would be 5
Pretty
or
good,
6
yeah.
on the list.
We have to consider
As
the
lo-
age curve.
As long as he
Yeah, and that's
Tell us
why
if
he's
Tom
outside of
Brady-
my top 10.
Nothing. As long as Drew Brees has Michael Thomas there, setting records for reception, setting records for catch percentage, especially on bad balls, he'll be fine.
If
And
he's a really good
startable.
quarterback, then the bad balls should be minimal.
They are, generally speaking.
Yeah.
But if you have a guy that can catch those, it makes it even better. Drew Brees is not the same kind of force that he was for a decade. He's still absolutely a QB1, albeit a low-end QB1.
And we're going to go back to Bryce now.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston, basically 7th overall on our consensus list. You have him at 11th.
I do.
Describe.
Couple things going on here. Couple things. One is I don't trust him as a quarterback at all. He could get benched at any moment depending on where he is. I have no idea. Speaking of depending on where he is, Bruce Arians does not like Jameis Winston. We already know that. He even came out and said if we can win with him, we can win with anybody. They are moving on from Jameis Winston, most likely. That is in my opinion. Now, Jameis stays, he'll move up a little bit, but he's getting a boost from Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who are both inside of our top 10.
Yep.
If it was
And of course,
August,
O.J.
you would
Howard.
know where
Don't
he's
forget O.J.
playing.
Howard.
O.J. Howard.
Jameis Winston.
We'll
Jameis
revisit
Winston,
this, don't worry
I think
about
he's
it.
going to come back down to earth a little bit. They threw the ball an inordinate amount. They're going to try to. I think they're going to try to use Ronald Jones a little bit more, if he does stay with the Buccaneers. Bruce Arians doesn't like him, and that's not going to go away. He had thousands of yards, led the league second in the league in touchdown passes,
Yep.
but of course he's
Led the
first in the
league
league
in
in
interceptions.
interceptions. Picks don't go away, and touchdowns do regress.
And I should mention he's the 8th best quarterback on our list here. And one last guy I want to mention while we're still on the topic of quarterbacks, Ben Roethlisberger. How you feel about him coming back from an injury? The offense was electric with him last year. This year.
The year before.
Not last. Well, it was
2018 season.
2018 season.
Yeah, I have him in my top 15 just because we don't really know what's going to happen with him. He's getting a bit older. He's coming off an injury, but last time we saw him, he threw for 5,000 yards. So he's still bringing back Juju Smith-Schuster. They still got James Conner, and some of their young guys showed that they got some promise. Even like in spite of Mason Rudolph and Doc Hodges throwing the ball. So I think he's a solid guy.
Yeah,
High end quarterback too, maybe.
He's got some. He has some not question marks, but he's got some flyers out there too. Deontay Johnson, James Washington. They both looked decent to at some point flex startable. With Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges in there with Ben Roethlisberger, you can assume more. And we know that Ben is prone to spreading the ball around. There's always 2 or 3 receivers that are flex viable at worst in the Steeler offense.
Definitely true.
Yeah.
We also have Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills quarterback, who did make a big statement this year. How do you feel about him going into year 2?
Yeah,
Year 3.
Three.
Losing count already.
I always liked Josh Allen. He had a big arm. It was just going to be a matter of if Sean McDermott can rein him in. He's not perfect. He's still got the cannon, but it's still he's got a little Jay Cutler in him, but he's got fight that Jay Cutler never had. We're going to make an assumption here that they're going to try to find a receiver for him in this draft. It's an incredibly, incredibly deep receiver draft. They could end up with a guy like T. Higgins, which would be huge for Josh Allen's development. Not to mention, second most quarterback rushing yards in the league behind Lamar Jackson. He's got a rushing floor.
Yeah.
And as long as the Bills are competitive, and the Patriots, who knows what's going to happen with them next year.
Is Bill Belichick still there?
It is Bill Belichick. But
They're gonna win
the
the
Bills are going to play a competitive schedule. Again, they finished second in the division. They were a wild card team. Josh Allen's going to throw the ball. I think he's going to take another step forward this year with his big arm. And hopefully with some more weapons.
Yeah, I don't even necessarily think that he needs more weapons. John Brown's was emerging as the wide receiver 1. Cole Beasley is shown to be a pretty solid possession
Good slot
receiver. Trying to think. They still got Devin Singletary. He's a great pass-catching running back.
How about a guy who's going to take a step forward this year?
Devin Singletary. And then Josh Allen, he's gives you that rushing floor that you're looking for. And they use him in the red zone, so he gets a couple rushing touchdowns at least per season. So I like Josh Allen. Got him at 10.
His rushing ability reminds me, just in the rushing ability, a little bit of like an Andrew Luck. Willing to go and will run a lot inside the 10.
Yeah.
And last quarterback we're going to talk about here is Kyler Murray.
Rookie of the year,
Will
baby.
it be
Number
a
one
sophomore
overall.
slump or sophomore standout for Mr. Murray?
Again, you're talking about rushing floor. It's good. I think it's going to be a sophomore standout for him. Kingsbury's offense is very conducive to high volume for Kyler, especially on the ground. Who knows what's going to happen with the Cardinals this offseason? Fitzgerald is coming back. He's already announced that. David Johnson disappeared halfway through the season. If they actually
still got
use
Kenyon
David
Drake.
Johnson, great. Kenyon Drake. If they actually elect to use David Johnson, that can only serve to help Kyler Murray out. He's an elite pass-catching running back, and he takes the attention away from Kyler Murray under center. I think he's poised for another step forward in a lackluster defensive division outside of San Francisco.
Yeah. I think I agree with a lot of stuff you said. I think he's just going to take another step forward as a passer. He's obviously pretty elite when it comes to quarterback or running. And it's tough to get worse than the Cardinals were last year, to be honest. So I think another year of Kingsbury and this college-style offense is going to help Kyler Murray out.
I don't think he's going to break into the top 5, though. I think he was something like the 7th best quarterback this year. I think
top
he's,
five.
I
Top
think
five is
he's-
aggressive, especially when you're talking about guys like Mahomes, Jackson, and Watson that are almost locks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Top 5 is very. That means he's
But
got
if he
to.
was 7th this year, then he's just got to hurdle
It still means that he's
That's
got to
true.
jump
Russell
guys
Wilson,
like Russell Wilson.
and Jameis Winston, basically.
Sure, and you're gonna say Matt Ryan got hurt a little bit. He's gonna if he's there for
Drew
a full
Brees.
season.
Bad man
Ben
Aaron
Roethlisberger,
Rodgers.
but-
Aaron Rodgers.
You don't think Ben Roethlisberger has a shot?
No.
At the top 5?
No.
I think Ben Roethlisberger
No.
had a very good season.
No.
Tom Brady?
He's got about as good a shot at missing.
Maybe if Brady goes to like the
San
Buccaneers
Diego?
and they have like
air it
and
out.
you guys like Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, like maybe, but I don't think so.
In August, we know.
And we will. You just gotta wait.
Thanks for watching our much too early quarterback rankings. Be on the lookout for our running backs coming soon on our channel.